Hello everybody, the Nameless Narcissist here once again. Simple man diagnosed with MPD, giving you the facts on narcissistic personality disorder and things going on in my head. If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe, but keep in mind I am no clinician. I can only speak to my own experiences and the research that I read. Anyways, so I hear there's a lot of contention whether or not people who are narcissistic can change, and if they can't, well, not change, but like be cured, so to speak, and to the extent that they can be cured. And I do think some of my reasonings for being kind of skeptical about how much curing can happen is due to some of the neurological studies that have been done on NPD and personality disorders in general. Sassy actually brought this up. Go check out her channel if you have not already. She's great. She talks about borderline personality disorder. She also has bipolar, I'm pretty sure. Anyways, so I'm going to read off some of these studies and what they actually say about neurological deficits or abnormalities in these disorders. One thing I know is, and I couldn't fucking find a study on it, the study I'm thinking about, unfortunately, but there is a study that says that people with cluster B disorders actually have increased striatum sizes. So like our reward center and stuff like that is really messed up, hence why we can be very sensation seeking, right? We're like, oh man, we need more because our striatum is never satisfied. The first one we'll talk about is about cluster Bs in general. This one was super interesting. This is called Neuronal Correlates of Reward and Loss in Cluster B Personality Disorders, a Functional Magnetic Resonance Imaging Study. And the thing that really stuck out to me about this one is that there was abnormalities in brain activity when it comes to both reward and loss. And apparently people with cluster B disorders don't really have strong reactions to positive reinforcement. We don't have the neurological reactions that you would expect us to have, which kind of makes sense, right? Like, especially if somebody, how would I put it? If somebody rewards me with being like, oh, I love you, I think they're lying or some shit. And I can see how when we can only rely on negative stimuli for behavior modification, and we hate negative stimuli and always trying to fight against it, why it's so hard for us to change when we're not, self-aware. I'm just going to do brief overviews of these, by the way. Also, an issue I really had with these studies is it felt like all of them, the purpose was to figure out the lack of empathy portions of it. As with it in this study, oh, can I not look at the photos? That sucks. God, I hate that so many studies are behind paywalls. I found the full one of this a while ago, but I can't find it. This one is another one, narcissism, and it's primarily about empathy. Relative to the control group, MPD patients had smaller gray matter volume in the left arteria insula. Independent of the group, MG volume in the left arteria insula was positively related to self-reported emotional empathy. So again, they're using this as, oh, something is messed up in the brain. That's why we can't feel emotional empathy. Complementary whole brain analysis yields smaller gray matter volume in the frontal paralimbic brain regions comprising the rostral and medial Jesus Christ, I can't pronounce any of this. I'm going to look up what that actually is. I probably should have before I did this video. Brain area. Here, paralimbic core. What does it do? It's not going to say. Functions. Transitional region between neocortex and the... Yeah, so that's not telling me anything. Oh, wait. It constitutes a group of interconnecting brain structures that are involved in the functions of emotional processing, goal setting, motivation, and self-control. So impulsiveness, it seems. So there's apparently a neurological link to impulsiveness and NPD. Not just lack of empathy. This one's really... Oh, is this the one I think it is? Because I really like this one. Wait, no, this isn't the one I was thinking of. Different one, I think that's also about empathy. Okay. Then, self-viewing is associated with negative effect rather than reward in highly narcissistic men. So this didn't take anybody diagnosed with NPD. They just took very high levels of subclinical narcissism, which you might be able to argue that these people would qualify for a diagnosis, but I assume that the researchers here were not qualified to diagnose, hence why it's subclinical, so to speak. And this was really interesting because in the brain, viewing one's own face as compared to the faces and friends of friends and strangers was accompanied by greater activation of the dorsal and ventral anterior cingulate cortex. I need to get a fucking doctor here to help me pronounce all this stuff. In highly narcissistic men, these results suggest that highly narcissistic men experience greater negative affect or emotional conflict during self-relevant processing and point to vulnerable aspects of subclinical narcissism that may not be apparent in self-report research, right? Because we're hiding this up. We're not going to tell you that we're miserable or that we hate ourselves. Well, okay, I will. But most of us won't do that. We're trying to put on that front that we're strong, powerful, somebody worth admiring. And if we hate ourselves, that kind of, delegitimizes that narrative. So that's super interesting, and I love that because it's like, it proves, may not proves, but it does suggest, according to this neurological research, that we don't like ourselves. Because that seems to be something that a lot of people, like I see things of like, oh, narcissists only have empathy for themselves. I think narcissists have the least, like compared to everybody else, have the least amount of empathy for themselves. We have no self-compassion. We're grandiose, we're grandiose, but we don't love ourselves. You know, my inner monologue is a constant stream of, oh, you didn't, like, I can't believe you messed up that bad. You're better than this. That's so stupid. Why are you so stupid? Like, constantly. I always say I hate myself, but I also think I'm better than everybody else, which a lot of people find contradictory, which I don't understand fully. Tess put it, Spirit Narc put it in a really good way too. Also check out her channel, where she said, I love myself, but I don't love myself back. That hits. That fucking hits. That one, it's like, I know that I'm great and better than everybody, but like, I hate myself. It's really the only way to sum it up. It's really, really hard to explain. And I know that probably those metaphors probably don't make much sense, but you know. Narcissism is associated with weakened frontostriatal connectivity, a DTI study. Now this one is fascinating. So basically, what this study is suggesting is that, so when they think about themselves and stuff like that, and the connections in the brain, that we don't have, just by thinking about ourselves, we don't have any positive reactions, right? And what does that say? And so where are we going to get that positive chemical when we think about ourselves? We have to constantly self-aggrandize, talk to other people, get them to validate us. I think this study is like the key to understanding self-esteem juice or narcissistic supply, whatever you want to call it. Because we literally can't think about ourselves and feel good about ourselves. We have to rely on other people, which is really interesting. That's a neurological deficit right there, which is why I think that people with NPD will, no matter how much they can heal, they're always going to struggle with self-esteem to some degree. I mean, that's the whole disorder, right? And the disorder is just us struggling with self-esteem to the extent that it dominates all areas of our lives, trying to mediate that. Fascinating. I love it. But yeah, so that's that. I just kind of wanted to touch on briefly how, yes, there is a neurological component to this, right? It's not just learned behaviors. Well, you could argue that it is learned behaviors and that the learned behaviors impact the development of the brain, right? But there is a neurological component that's very hard to change, either no matter how it's caused, right? And there's, neuroplasticity or whatever, but there's some parts of the change that are probably the brain that are probably always going to be behind to a certain degree, especially for people who were became self-aware later on in life than I did, because I became self-aware when I was 21, 22, and so probably 21, I can't remember, but that's been reinforcing. For them, it's been that stuff has been reinforcing for years and years and years and years. I fully believe that they are as capable of healing as I am, for example. But it's hard to put in the work when you don't know you have a personality disorder, or you don't want to admit you have one, or whatever. And I don't want this video to be despondent. I don't want it to be oh, there's no hope for change, because there is. Even if we're always going to think like a narcissist, changing and having healthier relationships in itself, it helps when we're not unintentionally hurting people or having toxic relationships or not knowing how to navigate real relationships. That in itself will make us happier people and probably help us actually connect with people. So I don't want that to be like it's on, oh, narcissists can't change because look at their brains. I can see, if nothing else, when we get the positive feedback, well, then again, the positive feedback doesn't matter apparently, but when we start seeing that we can trust people and be vulnerable with people, and that starts reinforcing itself, even if we can't really fix the parts of our brain that are messed up, I'm sure, neuroplasticity, it'll strengthen parts of our brain that will still be fulfilling to us. Maybe it's going to mess up our brains more, right? Be even more abnormal. That's funny. But yeah, that's basically that. I just kind of wanted to touch on that because to give you guys some feedback on why I am always skeptical about the degree of healing. And not skeptical to the extent that I'm, again, not despondent, just skeptical. Anyways, hope you enjoyed the video. Like, comment, and subscribe. Catch you guys later. Take your fucking meds.